moving right along. When is the right time to test a student? Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Go ahead, Steve.
Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to pretend at all, but these are things I've wrestled with.
Yeah, good.
I go to my other senseis and say, well, help, what do I do? You gotta, I'm following the criteria of the basic requirements that we have. So I fall back on that. After 3 months, they can perform all this. We've done our pre-test. That's what I'm using. Are most of them ready? Yes. Are some ready? No. We just go a little longer then. But I'm using that as my criteria now. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm kind of doing, with that.
How about you, Aaron?
That Ernst thing real quick here. I agree 100% with him, what he was saying, that if you look at all our senseis in the teaching committee, every single one of them does have that basic criteria of Toyota Shihan, and it's all 100% the same. Now, then their own art starts coming out, like Aaron just said. Every one of the sensei, their expression's different, and it shows in their students. Oh, that's a Steve student. That's an Aaron student. We can see who's who after a while.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's Eugene's student. I can tell you. So, but at the same time, I know that student is being taught the Toyota Shihan because that's our organization. Basic criteria. They'll know an AAA student when we see one. That's what we always have to strive for. At least the minimal. And then the the artistic portion, will come out later as they start growing into their own Aikido, like Aaron just said. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for that to happen.
Very good. Very well said. Very well said. How about Aaron? What's the criteria for when is the right time to test a student?
Well, I mean, if I think today we're talking in terms of, I think we're all in the same organization. We're kind of on the same committee, and so for that, I think we're talking about our organization's requirement sheet.
Right. I think most organizations too, like
that. And they probably do. And those are guidelines. They're not. They are guidelines. And I think if you have somebody that's been struggling for a long time and they're able to meet those minimum guidelines, then go ahead and bring them up. You got somebody that's really talented and they blast through. Well, maybe you don't necessarily fast track them, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning. I think you go ahead and promote your students if they're ready to do it, but maybe you don't fast track them if you got somebody that's coming up maybe too quickly. Right. But if they're ready to go ahead and promote them. I think, we have, or test them. We have those guidelines, and I think they were fairly well, ironed out before they were provided to us, by our organization's founder. So I think they're fairly good. I mean, really, it's a black belt in 5-6 years, a Nidon in maybe 7 or 8 years. I think a Sandan in 9-10 years, perhaps, or at the very, and those would be the fast tracked kind of ranges. I think they're fair guidelines, and then from there you have to look at the individual and kind of see where they are.
Yeah, I think, Steve, you wrestling this elephant down, I think is really good because, you might say you're wrestling with, I know for myself, I wrestle with them. I know Aaron must also, he's sharing very sharp thoughts, and that comes through thinking things through, and other Aikidoists out there too. When is it the right time to, I think the best thing I like was that having that minimum timeline that you have to be at the dojo for a certain amount of time and you have to put those certain hours in also kind of brings in that person that maybe his talent is very fast. I have a student right now. This guy, he just learns so freaking fast and everything. But having that real, what is it called? Reeling them in. Let me ask you a question. Now, this is something I feel very strong on. For me and my dojo, I have a system that allows my student to know 24/7 exactly where they are in the testing area. In other words, they never have a chance to come up to me and wondering when I'm going to test. So a lot of times the old sayings were, well, when my sensei says it's time, they're going to test me. I meditated on that really a lot, and I found that not being able to see your progression, to be able to know where you are in that progression, it can really be counter. It beats the person down. So
how
I
do
work
you, yeah,
Pardon?
how do you do that?
I was going to ask you,
How
what
do
is
you
your,
do
what
that?
is
Yeah.
your
Right.
go-to
That's
approach?
something we'll be sharing. I'll share with you guys in just a little bit. It's a program from Pro Sessions Aikido, and it allows them all the time. And the reason I say that is because I know when I was coming up the ranks, my bottom line was always, sometimes we'd be getting ready to test, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh man, Sensei don't want me to test. And the return answer was, no problem. But we're under that illusion, am I going to test? And then I've heard sometimes, or a lot of feedback from this area about, well, I don't know when I'm going to test. I don't know, I don't know how I'm doing. I know what I'm doing in this area.
That was old school.
That was old school like that. So do you feel it's beneficial for that student to be able to know where they are during the time? Start with you, Steve.
I think it is, but I think I may think I'm way ahead of what you think, teacher, or vice versa. I may have such a low situation in my own head, and you may have such great expectations. Oh, Steve, you're doing great. I think I'm not, or I think I'm doing fantastic, and meanwhile, I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's problematic. It's troublesome.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Everybody's a giant in their own head. So, how do we open that communication? And like what your program is, I don't know, of saying, okay, here's where you're at. It's obvious. And I'll tell you what, one thing that's helped me with that is I have these students that will teach something, they'll do a pre-demonstration, and then I'll critique them. They're going, really? I go, yes, really. You did not do this, or you did too much of that. So I started filming them.
Oh, video's great. Yeah.
Because it was nothing but arguments, and I got really tired of it because I got a very intelligent argumentative class. I love them all. So when I started filming it, they really it took them down 10 notches, and they see it. Now, I'm not trying to be picky. You turn your left foot right, you turn your right foot this way. No, but the basic stuff. You're bending over, you're looking at your feet. You're you're going backwards instead of forwards, and they see it now. So that was kind of what helped me with that.
Do you do videoing along the path too, where they go up and do demos and you video it just to get a baseline to say, okay, this is what we're going to work on before the test?
Yeah, I do, but not enough of it. I was doing it occasionally, not enough.
Very good. I agree. How about you, Aaron? What are your insights, buddy?
Well, I think you guys may have more insights than me in this area. I think it would be challenging to give somebody a running tally as far as are they at 75% readiness mode for the test in October or something like that. I mean, I don't know how that. I just don't know how that would work because we still don't know what they're going to look like in October. And that learning curve, if we're projecting certain dates and times, is going to be predicated on the current level of effort and future level of effort that student puts in, and their level of understanding and all that. Right. So but I do think in terms of hey, let's check back in 6 months. Let's check back in a couple of months. You have these guidelines. Some students are going to be wanting to be more aggressive on, and they're going to know what these guidelines are and be pressing to do that. Others aren't. But I think if you have somebody that's eager and not ready, then I think it's fair to kind of say, hey, maybe I want to, something like see you every, try to get in every class for the next 6 months. Let's have, let's talk about it again then. I want to see you every day. And
yeah.
Let's see where we are in 6 months. I want to see you give me your effort, and then let's have another look. I want you to double down, that kind of thing. But like I said, you guys, I think, probably have more experience in that area than
I think that last part Aaron was talking about makes more sense when you were talking about, Steve, about that dedication to the dojo, showing up, being there, putting in the hours on the mat, versus that talented person. Maybe they don't need as much time. But yeah, I'll share. I'm getting close to sharing this with you. Moving into the last topic, I like this one. Do we test a student that is not progressing at all? And I like the last part. How do we handle that kind of student? Right? No, go ahead. Let's see, Steve. Go ahead, buddy.
How come I'm always first?
Okay. There we go, man. We're putting in the hot box. It's your elephant.
Like I said, these are things I've had to deal with as a new instructor, and it's not easy. I kind of just go for it in the beginning. And have I regretted that a few times? Yes, because time.
What do you mean go for it in the beginning?
I will test them.
Just testing them? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the seventh cue. And then 6Q comes up. And everybody in the class is testing. And little Johnny's sitting there going, well, aren't I testing? Mm-hmm. And I would sometimes give in to that and test them. And I kind of look back now that I'm a little more experienced, going, maybe I shouldn't have. But because there's a new pre-testing qualification thing that a few of our teaching committee has come up with, the pre-testing criteria, they can see their progress right in front of them. So we're going to put you in front. You do the grade on the pre-test, you're up, buddy, you're up. You'll be up for a candidate to test. But they can't even do a pre-test because they're doing it in front of everybody. Then they feel and they know themselves. I'm not trying to embarrass them. I'll never do that. But they see it for themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the criteria I'm using now. So I've learned a lot the hard way, with that.
How about you, Aaron? What do you got, buddy?
It might depend on the student. And I think there's different tacks to take with different people, different approaches. And, if you got somebody that you think rises to the occasion, maybe on past experiences or, things that you've seen, then maybe that would incite them to, progress. And then if you give, a student a date and you help them towards these goals with that framework of, the techniques and this and that, then you are actually polishing them in preparation for that test. So as an instructor, you have an opportunity then to, hold the carrot out and then hold their feet to the fire and then polish them as well. And then, hopefully by the time you have, if it's a higher level test, some kind of a, pre-test or something, things will shake out at that point. But they will have had their polishing. So I think it depends on the student. It depends on the students and the relationship. And if you think that by giving them or forcing them in, presenting that opportunity and guiding them into it, if you think that will help them progress. And I think it's an individual student kind of evaluation.
Yeah, as I meditated on it, one of the things I remember hearing, a lot of times in some dojos, you'll have a person who's joined, and then you have another person who joined kind of a couple months behind them. And usually that person who goes behind them, even if they're more talented, won't get that opportunity to test till that first person tests. And that's kind of a rough situation to be in. But I have seen, where that first person came in and they just, disappear for a while, then they'll test. I think for myself, the value that I found in being able to communicate at all times with my students, right where they are, what they need to do and everything, allows them to decide their progression. So these are standards, and it helps a lot. So if a person isn't progressing, they're not surprised. They don't get to go up there and do a demo and all of a sudden go, wow, I didn't know that. They know way before in this progression.
How do they know?
Go ahead.
How do they know?
Well, you got to wait for that one. Everybody, I'll say, have to wait for that.
All right.
That's the pitch.
We're waiting.
Pitch. It's coming.
Right. There was a sales pitch.
There we go. The cliffhanger, right? But the reason I think it's important because there's a statement that I use in my dojo a lot, and to help put that, I call it high performance Aikidoist. And what I mean by that is there are certain rules that help us move into doing certain things that are going to get better results than other results. And also knowing how to train properly, there's rules in that, and so on and so on. And being able to put a person in that environment and saying, have it clear design, saying, here's the goal, this is where you're going to go, this is how we're going to get there. And then hold, I like what Aaron said, hold the carrot out, but hold their feet to the fire. Is really good. And I found, and I actually, one of my businesses is clinical research. And I did research on this where I've had students go through without that. And I put students through certain requirements, and they always outperform the ones that are vague and not knowing where they're going to go. So I think we're lining up that only in small times do we promote, because I know the feeling, you're looking at that little Susie and she's there and she's got the sad eyes, and you're like, okay, Susie, let's do it, and that's the compassion, then there's a place and a time for that. But I think we agree that that shouldn't be the rule, right? Is that cricket? They all just threw me under the bus.
No.
What do you think? Is that the exception or the rule, Aaron?
Well, I think you have to deal with the exceptions on either side of the. And at any point, you have to deal with the exceptions that come in, and there's always going to be some with anything. But overall, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, I do. I do.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I wish I had more answers to that.
There you go. Okay, very good. I wasn't meant to make you put you on the spot like that. That wasn't the purpose. I was making sure I was hearing everything clearly. But I agree with one thing that what Aaron was saying is that it's on the leadership part. It's not always just defined by this, and this. It's also learning how to get those people to work as a team. Your dojo, the test committee, the teaching, everybody coming together as a team for that common goal is, part of the leadership that I think is really important when we get on this testing. Do we test? So I think in a summary, if I see it correctly, we do agree that there should be minimums, and we, as the norm, and they need to be kind of where everybody can understand what they are. And that I do like the part about at the end, the higher level, that there's going to be a time when that Aikidoist is just going to start expressing themselves, and you can't keep them boxed in. They're going to go, and that's good. We want to see that, yeah. And
I think we've all experienced that at the fourth dan level, because we had to take the fourth dan test according to our criteria. And you could see in some of the fourth dan candidates, myself, a little frustration because a part of me wanted to come out, but I had to contour to what the requirements were. And that's where the big dilemma when the change of the fourth dan test came up, where full expression, oiwaza, kienwaza, henko, anything. But then we had to kind of bring it back down to what we needed to do. I think around that level is when things start to really grow and change.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard. What do you think, Aaron? That it's kind of hard to even be, criterion somebody that's really beginning to bust out of that area. What do you think, buddy?
Well, somebody that's extremely talented should be able to deliver what's being asked of them.
No, for sure.
Very good statement.
So yeah, so with requirements, organizational requirements of technique and things like that, again, are the baseline, the fundamentals, the basic stuff. Even if it's oiwaza, if you have a list of 10 oiwaza, then it's being provided to you. It's not your development. It's something that you're showing what was given to you. You haven't developed your own. And I think that's good up to a certain level within the organization. For us, within our organization, our last physical test at this point as a fourth dan.
Right.
So I think in some ways our organization accommodates that, where future ranks are enlarged, they're political or achievement based versus a demonstration, testing pass or fail. So in some ways we're addressing that within, I would say, our organization.
Right.
But yes, as the higher, you should be able to demonstrate the structures of your art, but the higher levels of, again, expression, I think you leave you exit the form, right? And you just come into your own, and you're not necessarily adhering to a structure, a grid, a matrix, that kind of thing. And that's where I think that the individual development is really going to take off at that level, when now you've met everybody else's requirements, and now you're developing your own self as a martial artist outside. Now you can still develop your own art side by side. You can still do that. You can still meet your organizational requirements and then express yourself. And you can still do that, but you have to be able to, if you want to pass a test and make somebody happy, and get an A-OK pass, then you have to deliver what they're asking for.
Right. That's very important. Be delivering what they have to be asking for. I remember one of my students, he was trained in different arts, judo, jiu-jitsu and stuff, and he came and he was taking his first test, and he was going through his demos, and he was just like wanting to, beat the oomph out of everybody, right? So I had to pull him to the side, and I shared with him that he said this is what really helped him. I can't really remember what I said, but something like this. I told him it's not about going into a fight, but it's about presenting what you've learned, right? And for him, it got a little satori, and he totally changed. He started moving into not trying to show that he can beat someone up using the art, and that was kind of nice. So anything else, guys? So did we solve this elephant? Did we? I don't know. I think maybe some more baby elephants running around.
Baby elephants.
Exactly. Like I said, I definitely do not have all the answers. It's been trial and error. I'm still making my mistakes here and there, and I've learned a lot of stuff, what to do, what not to do. So, and I'm always, evolving like that. And then I have to consider each individual personality in my class. I've gone through different shifts of some amazing different kinds of people in my dojo, that one don't even give a blank about promoting, one that's all they want, and you have to work for it. So there's different waves of personalities to come through, and that's the thing to consider also.
Yes. We all have experienced that one that says, I don't care about ranking.
But they do.
Yeah. I have some older older lady. And I find that for me, the test is not, it's just showing me that my teaching is reaching you, right? And if you can do what I'm asking, then maybe what I'm teaching is in line with what I'm asking. So it's as much as a test for me as the sensei as it is for my student getting up there and having to do what they do.
I agree.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, hey guys, again, I think this one was a tough topic, man. We might want to revisit it again, but a great insight from all you senseis, and I greatly appreciate always your time here. And of course, everybody out there, please comment below. Tell us what you feel, what you think about, and we'll be able to see, and maybe we'll know a little bit more what you want to hear us talk about a little bit more, what elephants in the room you're after. And again, thank you, senseis, and till next time, buddies.
Thank you.
Take care, my friends.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank you so much.